So this is the first stage of Black Arrow, specifically Black Arrow number 3, that in 1971 placed the Prospero satellite into orbit from the Woomera test range in Australia. And the stage fell back to Earth within the bounds of Australian dry land and stayed there. And its landing location was essentially turned into a make-do museum, a de facto museum, for the best part of 50 years. Until a UK launch company called Skyrora, based in Edinburgh, I might add, decided to fund reclaiming what remains of the first stage of Black Arrow, specifically this Black Arrow here, and bringing it back to Edinburgh. Now initially it was stored in a warehouse for a house moving company. I better not give the company name, but they're based in Pennycook, just outside Edinburgh, about 5 miles from where I grew up. And then a couple of years or so ago, it was moved here to the Royal Aircraft Establishment at Farnborough, home of British aviation, because what we're looking at here now, is a replica of the Cody Flyer, the first powered aircraft to fly under controlled sustained flight in the UK. And Samuel Cody, who flew it, was an American chap from a place called Iowa. I don't know if we know anyone who else comes from Iowa. Here's the inside of the first stage. Notice the stiffening pieces to keep the structure nice and strong. And this did not fall to Earth under any kind of parachute system. It basically landed under its own weight and air resistance. It would have been empty, so it would have achieved terminal velocity. And it landed on its engine bells. And we'll go back and look at those presently. Here's a photograph of Black Arrow in a different paint scheme from the one it's known for. This is another part of what returned to Earth, and we get to see what's left of some of these wiring looms. We've got a nice bit of labelling there. Don't know what that refers to. Some of the testing for these rockets. Certainly they were built in the UK, and they were test fired, we might say static fired these days, on an island called the Isle of Wight, which is just off the south coast of England. Some really gnarly looking connectors here. Obviously they've rusted in the weather conditions. It's fascinating that none of these wires have got any labelling of any sort whatsoever. So I don't know the people who put them together, how they had any trust that they knew what wires were going where. So I said it landed on its engine bells. Let's go back and take a look there, because the people who were standing there when I started filming are no longer here. Here's a plate extract from the Royal Aircraft Establishment table of Earth satellites 1957 to 1980. And there's a few of them here. And highlighted is the satellite Prospero. And it's due to stay in orbit for 150 years. Well, it's been in orbit for 52 years now, so I guess we've got another 98 to go. Here you can see some of the crush damage sustained between this section and that section of the first stage on impact, and it's getting progressively worse as we head towards the bottom. So we can assume that the impact was more at the bottom than at the top as we view it here. And here's one of the engine nozzles. So let's count the engine nozzles we can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I think we're supposed to be 9, but I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. I may edit this, and you may hear editor Andy correcting cameraman Andy. We've got some connectors better preserved back here. Plastic housing, looking a bit like early GPIB interfaces, possibly. It's fascinating how some bits of this seem to be largely untouched by impact. I think the ground can't have been terribly flat where this thing came down. I think that's an engine nozzle that I missed earlier, so that makes 8. Because I counted that one, but not that one. So how big is this rocket? Well, I would say that diameter is about 2 meters or 6 feet, and I haven't looked that up in any great detail. Some people for scale, normal human-sized person, and the originally circular form of the bottom end, the business end, the flamey end of the Black Arrow, representative of the British space programme, right up until the UK government decided to cancel its own space programme, having achieved orbit. And to date, 2023, the UK remains the only country to have achieved orbit and then scrapped its space programme. Go figure.